Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. I have decided to speak to you today on the subject matter, last will and testament. I have, for 33 years, been out here on a mission to help not just Americans, but people of the world. And my reason for doing it is because I think I might have some information that very few people have. And it is my responsibility and my obligation to share that information with you. First of all, I want to say to you that for the past 33 years that I've walked out here and gathered the information, I spent time as a military person with the United States Navy during the Reagan administration, and I resigned from the Navy. When I say resign, I quit. I quit taking orders. And I'll explain to you why a little bit later. I'm a product of Alcorn State University, and I'm getting kind of far in years. But what I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, is this, is that there is a God. I know that many people do not believe that there's a God, and that's okay. I understand why. So I'm not trying to change your mind. I just want to share something with you. Many of you have heard the story about Moses, and how Moses, like you, have heard about a God. But that wasn't enough to cause Moses to do anything truly that would represent that God that he was unaware of. Like Moses in the burning bush that took away all doubt, something happened in my life that took away all doubt. What happened was that I was a young boy living in Mississippi, working in the cotton fields for $2 a day from sun up to sundown. I guess I was somewhere between the age of 11, 14, 13. And I was working with a hoe with to chop grass with, to remove it from between the cotton. And one day, while out there doing that work, fear came over me out of nowhere. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. I was paralyzed and couldn't move. I knew I was afraid, but I didn't know why. I stood there, motionless, for a moment. And then the fear began to subside, and I decided to continue what I was doing. As I began to bring that hoe down to cut some more grass, this time something snatched that hoe out of my hand, turned me around, and I began running in the opposite direction, screaming. People who were out there doing the same kind of work I was doing screamed to me, "Eddie, what's wrong? What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know. I just ran until that fear had left." Then I began questioning and wanted to investigate to see what caused that fear. And as I went back to where I was standing, I picked up that hoe that I was using, and I decided to lay the cotton back, looking for what I could have been afraid of. And ladies and gentlemen, as I leaned some cotton over, I saw a cottonmouth moccasin laying up in between the cotton. In my next move, I would have had the opportunity to be bitten between my legs by a cottonmouth moccasin. That is the day that all doubt about whether there was a God or not left my mind. Because I had been saved by something I couldn't see, I couldn't touch, I couldn't feel. By all of the senses that I'm aware of, I could not use them that would bring me to the knowledge of my position at that moment. And yet, I'm here today to tell you about it. So I don't put God as a man. I don't receive God as a man. If you hear me say he, it's because something that we have just accepted. But to me, God is a power. a power beyond all things that I can identify. You got geniuses who tells you about this and tells you about that and says there's an explanation for this and an explanation for that, that there's a big bang, there's an evolution. All kinds of things to say that there is not a God, rather than to say that these things happen because there is a God. But I want you to know that there is a God and there is a loving God. Now, this is something else I want to tell you. You have been tricked. In your lifetime, you have been tricked. You have been tricked by everything. You have been tricked by the social orders in which you live. You've been tricked by your education. You've been tricked by your religion. You've been tricked by your Bible. You have been tricked by everything. Now let me try to clear that up. This earth was made by God. All the things above the earth that you can see and cannot see was made by God. All the things that's on the earth that you can see and cannot see was made by God. All of the things that's in the earth that you can see and you cannot see was made by God. And all living things on the earth, plants, animals, humans, were all made by God. And what I want you to know is this, that mankind and its ability to do this and to do that, to do great things, to do magnificent things, requires a certain amount of intuitiveness. All made by God. And as human beings that require certain substance in order to make it on this earth, it has all been provided for by God. And the purpose is that, as you have heard the story of the Garden of Eden, some people call it a little position. For our purposes, the Garden of Eden is the earth. Everything that's in it, on it, above it, is there. So that which is in man's mind, which is in man's heart, will enable him to cause to manifest goods and services that would satisfy his desire. Your desire was designed by God, so that you, as you live on this big ball, can experience what we call paradise. That is God. That is God's intent. The deception comes in when those who deny God try to come up with a different plan. And their plan causes all of the turmoil in the world today. The truth of it is that we who live today walked into this. We perhaps did not have a hand in causing it, in creating the lie. But we benefit from the lie, the good and the bad. We continue the process because we are continuously led, guided by a lack of the knowledge of God. This is my last will and my last testament, because for 33 years I had hoped that I could do something that would allow us to wake up together and we could enjoy this big ball together. But time has passed on, my friend, and I'm not promised tomorrow. And if I don't leave this to you today, I don't know when you'll get this information. Who will bring it to you? I'm sure someone would, because the God that I speak to you about loves you enough to make sure that you get the information as that is being done here today. What do I want? I want God and His plan to be realized. The gentleman that was given the knowledge of the electricity that would allow electric lights and all of those other things to happen, that was a gift from God, so that people on the earth could begin to see in the dark. Not for a financial reward, but that all humans could see in the dark. In that trick that has been presented to us all is a deception. And that deception is predicated on this. In order to control you, it is known that no human wants to die. Most of them want to live forever. And so, in order to keep you controlled, to manipulate you and guide you to do the things that the power that is deceiving you wants you to do, the threat of death is always above you. Well, one way you know you're going to die anyway. But this threat comes to bring death to you before you would normally die. And that is enough to keep people from one point or another controlled. But it is not good enough just to be able to control you. It must be your will to be controlled like this. So the enemy of God has come up with a replacement for God. Something that would allow you to do those things that God does for you, through you. And that is M-O-N-E-Y. You have heard it said that with money you can do anything. Anything. Buy anything, get anything, go anywhere, control anybody who wants that money. So you got death and money as tools to keep you in this blindness. But I come to liberate those today who would like to be liberated. Now, having done this for 33 years, who have sought presidents all the way back from George H. Bush, all the way up to the present president, Barack Obama, who have contacted and tried to communicate through the various Congresses, through the various governors throughout this nation, through mayors of major cities of this nation, through the United Nations, through the church. I have tried to give this information to them so that they could acquiesce and put the power back in the hands of God that they have stolen from you. And to this date, I stand alone. To this date, I stand alone. I have sought the office of President of the United States Congress as a senator, Governor of the state of Minnesota, Mayor of the city of St. Paul, Minnesota, and Woodbury, Minnesota. And I did not get enough support from you, the people, to walk out of the door. So I had to run as a write-in. A write-in. You hear of me, you believe in what I'm saying, write my name in. And yet I'm standing here alone. And so in my eyes, the whole nation has turned its back against what the divine power of God has designed for you, the people, and that includes you. But I do not hold you guilty, though you're responsible, because you've been blind. But it is my last will and testament that those scales may be rolled back from your eyes and you can begin to see the light. What do I want today? Aside from your being able to see, I want what the Almighty God has provided for me. I refuse to be a slave any longer. A slave is one who does things for others out of fear, even when it works against them. And given a different situation, they would not do it. But because of these things, they do it anyway, as I have done, as we all are doing every day. Slave. Now, in removing the slavedom from me, I demand from the world, specifically the United States of America, all of the powers that be here, that I am in receipt of all that God has prepared for me. It has been stolen, and I claim it back, and I want it back. I want to make sure that my responsibilities are met, that those that I am responsible for have what that God that I'm sharing with you about has provided for them. That means I have a wife presently, and I got 8 children. And what has God provided for us that I want? God has provided food, clothing, and shelter, education, health care, careers of choice, peace, prosperity, and joy for every human being on the face of the earth. I'm claiming it for me and for mine. I got 8 children. Angie, Marcus, Maurice, Mario, Eddie, Josh, Taylor, Reese. And I am claiming by the power of God that everything that they desire in this life, as of those things I have mentioned, be given in the form of being released to them, because you're not giving them anything. I want you to release what you have stolen from us. And also that for my present wife, whom God has blessed me with, who has prepared that I might have food and clothing and shelter for the past 30 some odd years that I have been out here ministering to you, to bring that joy and that peace into your lives. Every last one of us. And when I say that, I'm talking that they might have the kind of houses that they want, that they might have the kind of education, and not just them, but their offspring, the kind of health care, that they might have clothes, food, shelter, and anything they dream of, including peace, prosperity, and joy. And if I happen to live, I experience and enjoy these same things. I say this to you, ladies and gentlemen, because as I said, tomorrow is not promised to me. And one of the greatest things that the enemy of God uses is death. And I'm not afraid of death now, even though I would love to enjoy these things that I have mentioned with my family, my offsprings, and all of you. But there was a time when people like President Eisenhower warned you about certain things. President John F. Kennedy warned you about certain things. Mahatma Gandhi warned you about certain things. Malcolm X warned you about certain things. Martin Luther King warned you about certain things. And when those warnings came before you, the enemy of God struck them down, and they are all someplace else where I do not know, but they are not here. And as if they never opened their mouths, things have gone on as normal, as they were, business as usual. And so I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, I can prove that what I am saying is true. What I am saying is true. If and when these things that have been stolen from me and mine are released, you can perhaps change your mind and maybe go and require that yours are released as well. But I'm not saying that this will happen, because I am just only telling you the way it is supposed to be. I can't make it be. And if the enemy of God decides that it wants to quiet any thought of any of you rising up to carry this forward and decide to take me out, I want you to know that that is the action that I have just spoken of, that is always taken by the enemy of God when they don't want God to live. I give this to you as my last will and my last testament. When I speak to you about the benefits that God has provided for all of us, that have been denied by the people because of their blindness, I'm claiming it not just for me, not just for my children, but also the mothers of my children. And that would include 3 mothers of my children, that their will, their desires be met just as I have articulated it for my children, in hopes that you would want them as well. This is the most important message that I could give you today. And if I never, ever am able to bring another message to you, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to my last will and my last testament. I'm thinking now to see if there's anything else that I have left out. Well, I believe that's it. Bye-bye.